What do you do if a buyer doesn't want to pay your commission as a buyer's agent, and how do you handle that conversation in a way that's going to ensure that you do secure future business? I'm Lou Raven with REinvest Real Estate. We help take agents from production to legacy, and today we're breaking down everything you need to know about having that hard conversation with your buyer. In this video, I'll start by giving you an overview of a conversation I had with one of the agents that I mentor. Then we'll go into a little bit of an interview with Nick after the fact. We'll talk about how the actual conversation played out. Now, for context, Nick is 20 years old and he's been an agent for about 1 year. We started working together 2 or 3 months ago, and in that time, Nick has shown a tremendous ability to be consistent and accurate with his day-to-day tasks. He's also proven to be a great communicator. He's extremely skilled at working with clients. Nick asked me a challenging question one afternoon. He said, what do you do if a buyer says that they'll work with you, but only if you can guarantee that you'll be able to get the seller to cover their compensation? I gave him my suggestions and told him that I wanted to follow up afterwards and hear, how that conversation actually played out. Thanks for taking a little bit of time to kind of do this post-situation interview with me. I wanted to talk about the recent buyer situation that we were talking about over the weekend, and just get kind of some feedback on how that went. So, the buyer approached you, or the lead, I should say, approached you and basically said, I only want to hire you if you can get your commission covered by the seller. And we walked through some scenarios and examples there. How did the actual conversation go in real life?
Yeah, so he called me. It's a referral from a family member, and they kind of told me that they're moving. They want to be closer to the West Springfield, Agawam area. So he's had a past in the real estate industry. So he was kind of, hesitant on hiring a buyer's agent. Kind of just broke it down, tried to, get an understanding of where he was coming from. He kind of told me that he doesn't want to pay a fee. And so I was just kind of curious what the best way to go about that was. And that's when I had reached out to you just to kind of get some ideas on what's the best thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think first off, I should acknowledge that is a symptom of other agents before us doing the wrong thing. And as buyer's agents saying, oh, don't worry, I'm free to you, ha, 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 ha.
Right.
And when agents have been saying that for 40 years, that creates a tough situation for us to come into. And as the tide is changing and more of those compensation conversations are on us as buyer's agents, which I think that's where they should have been anyway, it's never been more important for us to articulate our value and really have something, something to show for what our services are and make us worth hiring.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, at the end of the day, just kind of talked to him after me and you had that conversation of what I should do. And you kind of broke it down nicely of just tell him, this is what I charge. Unfortunately, I can't promise that I'm going to be able to get it covered or a seller's going to pay that. Part of my role is to negotiate for you and try to get my fees covered if possible, but can't guarantee it. And just like you said, any agent that says I'm free or I can guarantee I can get that covered is, completely lying to you. You tell them that, and then at the end of the day, you just walk away if it's not a good fit, because, not every lead is a good fit for you. And I think you've taught me that you have to realize that as a business owner.
That's exactly right. I love all of that, especially what you said at the end there. You have to be selective about who you work with. And you're still newer in your role. You've been an agent for less than a year at this point, been with EXP for a couple of months, been working together for a couple of months. But I love that you've already picked up on the fact that you are a valuable agent, that your time is valuable and it can't just be wasted by any client who's going to run you around, who just wants to, have you open doors and isn't serious about buying a house. You're very good about protecting your time already. So what was this buyer lead's response? What did they say when you approached them in the manner you did?
I basically just told them that can't guarantee the fees covered. And
no agent can. I love that.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Kind of just went back and forth and ended on the note that, he's going to try to do it himself. And I, to be honest with you, that's completely fine by me. Like I said, not everyone is a good fit. At the end of the day, I think that agents should be choosing their clients just as much as it is the other way around.
That's right. You do you, King. That's awesome.
Yep. That's right. So basically just ended off that. And I told them, I don't think you ever want to end it on a bad note. So I told them, I'd love to still be there. If there's any value I can provide to you. Hey, if you have a question on a contract here or there, send it my way. I'd love to help out if I can. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do, my job without getting paid for it. But I think if you can provide value to everyone, you definitely should. So left it on that note. And, at the end of the day, he can try it. If it works out, that's awesome for him. If it doesn't, then he knows that I'm here on the sidelines and would love to help him.
Yeah, that's great. And we talked about the two different roads that conversation could lead down, right? The option A was you have that conversation, say, I can't guarantee that, no other agent can. They say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Part of that is, yeah, but I've had a history of getting every single or all but one of my clients get my compensation covered by the seller. And that gives them the assurance that I'm a great negotiator. I know what I'm doing here. Some clients are going to say, okay, great, no problem. They don't have any more questions, and you can work with them. And then other people will go down this road. And whether they self-select to work on their own, or you decide after talking to them more, like say they pushed back on you and really fought you on that point and said, okay, well, but what if we go under contract and we do have a situation where the seller won't cover the compensation? Will you do it for 1%? Like, then it's like, no. I'm not taking a third of my pay.
Yeah. And this isn't
1%. It's stupid,
Right. And this isn't entirely related to the buyer thing of what you asked me about, but I think it'll be something to share. Is I just had a conversation with another, client of mine, someone I've been talking to for a while. To kind of summarize it, he asked me and basically just said, like, hey, since me and you have known each other for a little bit, would you do it for, essentially asked me to do it for half, to list his house for half of what I told him I charge. And I told him no. And he was kind of silent after that. And he was like, well, I know that you usually don't do that. And I said, well, to be honest with you, I run my own business, and it's just not profitable for me to, charge less than I do. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately, for you. Yeah, I didn't necessarily say it like that.
Partially for you, I get it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's kind of something that I think that even me, when I first started, or a lot of new agents will chase after every single percentage of, if they can get 0.5%, they'll do a deal. And it's like, you just get to the end of those and you're like, that was not worth it. I lost money, and so you have to, one of the great things you taught me is you have to act like you're doing, more volume than you are. Right. You just have to treat your business as if you're doing, 10 deals at a time, even if you don't even have one. And that way you don't have that bottleneck.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That keeps you efficient. It keeps you working. If you're working with that mindset, you should be lead generating that much if you don't have 10 deals going, right? We know that for one thing. So if you have that mindset, you're more likely to perform at that level, which will then get you to that 5-10 deal at a time, mark.
Yep.
And it's an advantage for you to be able to say to people, oh, I can't do Tuesday 3:00. Are you free Thursday at 4? And, you just being busy or sounding busy or doing it at a time that fits in your schedule. Like, let's say somebody wants to schedule during your lead gen time, then you book it for the following day at a time that works for you. You're a busy agent. You've got stuff to do. You're a business owner. People don't push back on the dentist and say, oh, you can't do Tuesday at 11 a.m. Click. I'm never going, never seeing you again. That doesn't happen. So why do we as agents make all these exceptions and break our own rules of going outside of lead generation time to appointments when we know we should be sitting there working for ourselves and getting our future paycheck? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think that a lot of new agents especially will let their clients walk all over them because they think, hey, I'm available at all hours of the day. And I think it's more respectable. And I think that your clients actually appreciate it more when you set boundaries and tell them, like, hey, listen, after 5:00, I spend time with my family. I won't be, around my computer at that time. I think people respect that. If clients see you as someone who doesn't have a lot of business, they'll kind of treat you as someone who has a lot of time for them. Versus if I tell you I have X amount of time to work for you, then they're going to treat it as such. So
that's right. And for any agents that are hearing that and saying, well, I have to give the best customer service possible, which means I have to respond to every email in 5 minutes and every text message in 5 seconds, you don't have to do that at all. That's a construct of your mind. That's an expectation that you set for yourself, likely when you were a new agent and you just felt like you needed to scratch and claw to get every bit of business you possibly could. And if you never broke out of that habit and never got to a place of setting expectations with your clients and saying, here's the buyer process. I'm going to sit down and educate you for an hour. With that, I'm going to go through all the services I provide. We're going to talk about your role and my role, because keep in mind, in our buyer representation agreements, it spells out the responsibilities of the buyers and the agents. So we're not the only ones who have expectations in writing legally. So spell those out, explain them. You don't have to be an asshole about it. And then just explain to people when your schedule is and when you're available and how often you need is notice to get into to book showings and get into a property. I mean, that's all very normal, reasonable things for a business owner to do. But if you're not acting like a business owner, you're not thinking in that way, people are going to walk all over you.
100%. I mean, even in the last transaction that I just closed, there was multiple times where they said, "Hey, can I see a property, at 9 o'clock at night?" And it's like, no, and you just have to be blunt with them. Yeah. And I'm sure there's some agent that would show it out there, but is that really even benefiting your clients? They can't see it if it's that late at night. They don't know even what they're getting into.
Yep.
And I think at some point you realize once you do a deal or two, or maybe even before that, is just like there hits a certain time of the day where you're not really going to change anything if you respond now or tomorrow morning. Attorneys don't work late most of the time. I mean, lenders aren't working late most of the time. So if you send an email at 9 p.m. or even request a showing at 9 p.m., it's like no one's even going to see it.
That's a great point. So it's, I think we need to start to look at every part of our business and say, what's the expectation that I've set both for myself and for the client? Where did that come from? Is that even reasonable to begin with? What do I want my business to be and look like? Because you're your own boss. So if you don't like how clients are treating you, then yell at yourself, like you're accountable to you. So make a change.
Right.
That's it.
One thing I just wanted to add to that too is I feel like definitely something I struggled with when I was first starting is constantly feeling, tired and overwhelmed, even though I felt like my production wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And I think once you realize to actually set the expectation and treat it like, a business, you become more intentional with your work. And so you get more done in less time and you don't feel as exhausted. So,
yep. And when you're setting boundaries between when work time is and personal time is, you can actually be off and rest rather than living on your phone and waiting for that ding and just, hey, these phones, we have been trained by the phone companies, by everybody to respond to urgent, literally like a bell. We're salivating like dogs, just like Pavlov in that psychological experiment. Like, it's absolutely crazy. So don't get me wrong, you do need to break free from that. And ironically enough, I actually thought about that as a topic for the next YouTube video, how I broke free from my cell phone addiction or something. I don't know what it's going to be. But a lot of it starts with the client expectations, and then it goes through to habits and all kinds of different things. So yeah, we can talk about that topic forever. Speaking of talking forever, we're going to be sitting down in person next week and doing sort of a full interview and how things are going, your first 90 days in, and talk just about your experience as being a newer agent who's got a lot of traction, who has a lot of success already. So I'm excited for that. And everybody come back and check out Nick's interview. He's 20 years old, 21?
Yeah, just turned 20 last month.
Just turned 20. Okay, not even, you can't even legally drink in the US, which is awesome, that you're like absolutely crushing it in real estate. And that's part of why I was so excited to work with you, is just the potential that you have, and you're already fulfilling it so quickly. And like I said before, I get energized when I get to work with guys like you who just execute, and you do it really well. So I'm so excited to sit down next week and dig into your business some more.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait.
Awesome. We'll see you then. Hopefully you found this video to be informative and helpful. If you like this case study style of video, please drop a comment below and let us know that. We'll make more videos like this in the future. If you don't have a mentor, somebody to bounce ideas and tough conversations like this off of, I strongly suggest that you go to Skool.com, search for REinvest Real Estate, and join our free community. There are dozens of agents, almost 100 at this point, who are in there willing to help other agents free of charge. If you're curious about working with either me or Elise, feel free to DM one of us on Skool. We're always happy to talk about what that could look like. We have paid programs for clients one-on-one, we offer group coaching, and we also have a free program through our brokerage eXp Realty, wherein our brokerage pays us to mentor you. There are tons of great options out there for training, and we strongly suggest that you get a mentor in some type of way. We hate seeing agents who have good potential burn out because they don't have any type of training and support. So whether it's with REinvest or some other company, make sure that you're plugged into a good environment that's going to support you on your real estate career. 87% of real estate agents quit within the first 3 years, and we don't want you to be a statistic. So join our free community on Skool.com, and we'll help you go from production to legacy.